Hello, my name is Sarah, and I love traveling and meeting new people. Each journey teaches me something new. But there's one trip I'll never forget, a trip that showed me the beauty of kindness in unexpected places. The story I'm about to share is full of small yet powerful moments that prove just how magical human connections can be. So, are you ready to join me on this adventure? It all began when I decided to visit a small town I had heard so much about. People said it was charming, with cobblestone streets, colorful houses, and a bustling marketplace. But they also said it was a place where few people spoke English. I thought, well, this will be interesting. I didn't know the language, and I wasn't sure how I'd manage. But I was ready for the challenge. The first hiccup came as soon as I arrived. I couldn't find my guest house. The map I had was confusing, and the street names seemed to lead me in circles. After wandering around for what felt like forever, I decided to ask for help. I spotted a man walking his dog and thought, he looks friendly. Let's give it a try. Excuse me, I said, holding out my map. Do you know where this is? He didn't understand my words, but he smiled and gestured for me to follow him. I hesitated, should I trust a stranger? But his kind eyes and wagging dog convinced me. We walked through narrow streets, past flower-filled balconies, and finally stopped in front of my guest house. He pointed and said something in his language that I didn't understand but knew meant, here it is. I smiled, said, thank you, and waved. It was such a small gesture, but it felt like the beginning of something special. The next morning, I ventured into the town's lively marketplace. It was full of sounds, smells, and colors. Vendors called out, showing off fresh bread, vibrant fruits, and handmade crafts. One stall caught my attention. It was filled with beautiful scarves of every color. The woman running the stall looked up and smiled as I picked up a bright blue scarf. How much is this? I asked. She didn't understand, but laughed warmly. She took the scarf and gently wrapped it around my wrist like a bracelet, then nodded as if to say, this is how you wear it. Her laughter and enthusiasm made me laugh too. I bought the scarf, and every time I wore it, people in the market smiled at me. It felt like a little piece of the town's friendliness was with me everywhere I went. Later that day, I decided to take a walk in the park. The air was fresh, and the sound of birds chirping made the atmosphere peaceful. As I sat on a bench under a large tree, I noticed a little girl drawing with crayons. She was sketching the trees and birds around her, her small hands moving quickly across the paper. "Wow, your drawing is beautiful," I said, even though I knew she wouldn't understand me. She looked up, saw me smiling, and beamed back. Then, to my surprise, she walked over and handed me one of her sketches. It was a picture of a tree with colorful birds sitting on the branches. "For me?" I asked, pointing to myself. She nodded and giggled before running back to her spot. That drawing became one of my most treasured souvenirs. It reminded me that kindness doesn't need words to be understood. That evening, I decided to explore the town's narrow streets. The golden glow of streetlights made everything look magical. As I walked, I noticed a small cafe buzzing with people. Inside, I met Luca, a young man who spoke a little English. We started talking, and he offered to show me around the next day. "You'll see the real heart of our town," he said. True to his word, Luca took me on an unforgettable tour. We visited a hidden garden, tucked away behind old buildings. The garden was filled with blooming flowers and a small fountain that sparkled in the sunlight. "This is where locals come to relax," he told me. Then, we stopped by a bakery where the owner, a cheerful elderly man, insisted I try a slice of cake. "For our guest," he said with a grin. The cake was delicious, and the gesture warmed my heart. On my last evening, something incredible happened. I was walking back to my guest house when it started pouring rain. I didn't have an umbrella, and there were no shops or taxis nearby. I stood under a small awning, hoping the rain would stop, when a woman carrying groceries walked by. She noticed me and stopped. Without a word, she handed me her umbrella, smiled, and walked away, getting soaked in the rain. I tried to thank her, but she simply waved goodbye. That umbrella wasn't just a way to stay dry. It was a symbol of pure kindness. The next morning, I returned to the cafe to say goodbye to Luca. He and his friends were sitting together, laughing and chatting. When they saw me, they invited me to join them. We spent hours sharing stories, teaching each other words in our languages, and laughing at our funny accents. One of Luca's friends said, "In our town, we believe strangers are just friends. We haven't met yet." That line stayed with me and perfectly summed up my experience. Before leaving, I took a final walk through the town. I passed the park where the little girl had given me her drawing, the market where the woman had wrapped a scarf around my wrist, and the bakery where I had eaten the best slice of cake in my life. Every corner of the town held a memory of kindness. Looking back, this trip taught me that friendliness isn't about grand gestures or perfect words. It's about making someone feel seen and valued, even for a brief moment. From the man with his dog to the woman with the umbrella, every act of kindness made my journey unforgettable. What about you? Have you ever experienced a moment of unexpected kindness? Maybe someone helped you when you least expected it. Or perhaps you were the one who showed kindness to someone else. I'd love to hear your story. Share it in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this story, don't miss my next video, where I explore how kindness is expressed in different cultures. You'll be amazed at what you'll discover.